Okay, this is day two of me working in New York City during the COVID pandemic of 2020. A lot of people have asked me over the last 24 hours, especially, what in the world I'm doing in New York during this crisis. And I wanted to try to answer that a little bit today. So I first moved to New York City September 2nd of 2001. 19 years ago. And I was living in Queens 9 days later when 9/11 happened. And I can remember that feeling, as many of you watching probably did, and you probably remember exactly where you were and what you were doing. Well, I was in Queens and I was a medical student and was doing an away rotation, and I didn't know what to do, and all I could think to do was to go into the city to help. And so I jumped on a subway. I think I was 25 years old at the time, and I went straight in and I went right as close as I could get to the towers. And on the news they were saying everyone was going to St. Vincent's. And so I went to St. Vincent's and I walked in the front door, and I told them I was a medical student. I even put my white coat on, so I think they would think I was legit. And I asked if there was anything I could do to help, and they said no. There's nothing to do. Everyone's dead. And that wasn't completely true, but that's kind of the message they gave me, that there wasn't anything we could do. There weren't very many survivors. And so I went back home, and I felt so helpless that there was nothing I could do to help. I still remember that. It was a tough time. When this current crisis happened, I had the same feeling that I had to help. That I needed to do everything I could to make a difference during this time. But this time, I don't feel helpless. I'm an anesthesiologist, and even though I've been doing pain management for a long time, I still have skills that can help in this situation. And so I talked to my wife about it, I talked to my family, I prayed about it, and I feel like this is where I'm supposed to be, and I'm not worried about it. I think it's the right decision. So that's a little background. I'll be able to tell you guys more tomorrow. Today was interesting. I promised when I first started this that I would give a couple pearls, and so I just wanted to teach just a little here. Number one, when I first came, I thought it was just ARDS that we'd be dealing with, which is a disease state where the lungs lose compliance and it's hard to oxygenate, and it's a really difficult thing. But this isn't like your typical ARDS, and so anyone that's going to be battling this, there's this cytokine syndrome that occurs, or cytokine storm syndrome, where the entire body becomes inflamed, and inflammatory markers start elevating, and you start seeing multi-system organ failure. And it's very different disease than I've personally ever seen before, which includes heart failure and kidney failure and of course lung failure. The second thing that I want to point out as just a pearl today is early on, even before patients are intubated, to start doing prone ventilation. Let the patient lay on their belly and breathe, either high flow nasal cannula or just a face mask with a rebreather or whatever. But prone ventilation will really fix the VQ mismatch that occurs. You'll get lung damage throughout the lungs, but particularly in the posterior aspect in the base of the lungs. And so by laying the patient on their chest, you actually match the blood flow better to the anterior portion of the chest, which is spared a little bit. And so those are my two teaching points for today. I pray that you guys are staying safe, and please continue to pray for me as well.